Here we are with another 6 amazing games to play in Ultrawide or 21:9. By the way, I've had COVID for the last week, so apologies if you can tell, but there's a reason we got time to make this video. I know, COVID in 2023. Ugh. We've been pumping these videos for a good few years now, so make sure to check out the playlist to see all the previously covered games in this series. Links will be in the description. For those who are curious, I'm playing all these games on an ASUS ROG SWIFT 34-inch ultra-wide gaming monitor at 3440 by 1440 and using an RTX 3080 graphics card. My CPU is wildly out of date at this point. Your games will almost certainly perform better than mine, so if any sponsors are interested, you know what to do. The first game on this list is my absolute game of the year for 2023 and has skyrocketed into my top 3 games of all time almost immediately. Baldur's Gate 3 is the peak of turn-based RPG combat, mixed with stellar dialogue and character interactions, wrapped tightly in an incredibly sandbox-focused D&D package. Those who enjoyed Divinity Original Sin 2 as much as I did will fall in love with this game by the same developers. Everything from the ludicrously in-depth character creation to the endless methods in which quests can be completed have been intricately crafted by the experts at Larian Studios to give you an everlasting addiction to this masterpiece of a video game. Less than 1/3 of the way through my first playthrough, I was already deciding which race, class, and companions to select for my next one. The gameplay itself runs at a sexy 21:9 along with the HUD sitting at the edges of the screen. Even all of the cutscenes and dialogue run at 21:9, which is always an absolute joy whenever you boot up a new game. The loading screens have black bars and are 16:9, but this is a non-issue whatsoever. The game is relatively aggressive on your PC rig. Some areas seem to hit a pretty consistent 60 FPS or above, whilst other more populated areas, especially Act 3, will take a pretty heavy toll on your FPS. You might have to drop your settings or just learn to deal with a rough frame rate in certain areas. But as I mentioned, this game is my game of the year and one of my favourites of all time. The fact that it runs in ultra-wide is just more reason to love it.
I will forget this and allow you to spin again. Or I can turn you into something vile. Choose! Behold! My fury!
The next game on the list is widely considered to be one of the greatest games of all time, and it was finally released on PC earlier this year. We're obviously talking about The Last of Us Remastered. The emotional and gripping story of Joel and Ellie traversing the overgrown post-apocalyptic wasteland is almost certainly known by every gamer at this point. But if by the off chance you've never owned a PlayStation, this may be the first time you've been able to fully experience what is considered a masterpiece of a video game story. Within the opening of the game, you'll find your emotions peaking in ways I won't spoil, and that will be carried through all the way to the end, including the DLC, which is included in the remaster. In classic Sony fashion, this game is a third-person, story-driven action game with stealth and shooting elements. It's a stressful but incredibly rewarding experience, one that everyone needs to experience at least once in their lives. This game also looks phenomenal, a top-tier remaster when it comes to graphics and animations. You already know I love my game environments, and this overgrown post-apocalyptic vibe has been many an inspiration for me in my own creative work. When the game boots up, the shaders will have to compile, which did take a little while, so make sure you launch the game before you're actually ready to play. There's actually a setting to remove black bars from cutscenes, meaning you can choose to experience how it was originally intended, or experience ultra-wide bliss. All the cutscenes, including any pre-rendered ones, appeared to be in 21:9, along with, of course, the gameplay itself. The PC port has been improved since launch, with anywhere from 40 to 70 FPS when moving between big, open and graphically intense areas to small interior areas from my own experience. I will say that during one part or sequence of the game, relatively close to the beginning, the heavy rain absolutely cucked my game frame rate down to the low 20s, which made it almost impossible to get through some sections. I may have needed to drop my game settings a little bit more than I did. The Last of Us is a must-experience game for everyone, and in ultra-wide, you almost can't go wrong.
Watch your step as you're going out, because it's going to be a little... Was that everything you hoped for?
Jury's still out. But man, can't deny that view.
Now, we don't really highlight enough smaller indie games in this series, but I've been endeavouring to do so recently. So imagine my surprise when I launched Dredge to find out that it has almost perfect ultrawide support. This seemingly cute fishing game puts you in an old fishing boat in which you'll set out to catch and sell fish and other trinkets you find at the bottom of the ocean. But you'll have to keep an eye on the time, because when night falls, well, let's just say you don't want to be caught out in the deep, vast ocean in the dark. Everything about this game just makes you feel good, from the music to the simple yet dark and incredibly interesting art style. Through selling the fish you catch, you'll be able to upgrade your boat engines, fishing rods, nets, and a slew of other aspects. The game's 5-second opening cutscene is a pre-rendered 16:9 cutscene, but other than that, I don't think I experienced another black bar throughout the whole time that I've played so far. The cozy nature, along with the mysterious things you'll encounter throughout your time playing Dredge, will keep you coming back for more. The Dead Space remake. I've had my eyes on this one since it released early this year. It was very recently released on Game Pass, meaning it was a must download for a fan of survival horror like myself. This sci-fi horror game, based upon a mining ship called the USG Ishimura, pits you against a myriad of terrifying mutated abominations who just don't seem to goddamn die. Shooting them in the head will do very little. Instead, it's suggested that cutting off their limbs is the best way to get rid of them. The game is dark and atmospheric as hell. Enemies will always come from both in front and behind you, causing you to constantly be spinning around and checking all directions. Despite being located on the one ship, each area has its own uniqueness and variety in both look and enemies. But man, when the lights go out and you hear the horrifying growls of something coming from somewhere, God, it gets the blood pumping. The opening cutscenes seem to be at a solid 21:9, along with all the gameplay. The game has basically no HUD, and the few moments when it does, it's linked to your crosshairs anyway. Dropping the settings down a little, a very consistent 60 FPS was easy to maintain in basically all areas. This game is intense and atmospheric, and not for the faint of heart, but goddamn is it a good experience. I feel like sometimes we get bogged down, including the newest and greatest games in these videos, but I wanted to include a game that is a little older than the others on this list that I finally got round to playing recently. Titanfall 2. I've been hearing good things about this game for years, so I decided to give it a go. Everything from the double jumping parkour, wall running, slide shooting gameplay of this game feels fantastic. The fluidity of movement and just how natural it feels so quickly is insane. You'll cover enormous distances in the blink of an eye by chaining together all of your movement abilities. But that's not all. Despite the fact that the game feels amazing like this, you also have the added bonus of being able to climb inside a giant mech or robot called a Titan and really having some fun. Firing rockets and projectiles in all directions, pummeling enemies into a bloody pulp with a punch, and boosting through levels feeling almost as amazing as ground combat. The cutscenes sadly seem to be set at 16:9, but the most important aspect of any game, the gameplay, runs at a crispy 21:9. The HUD is constrained to 16:9, but I actually preferred this because of how fast paced you're moving. It's nice to be able to see your HUD easily. Being a number of years old now, you don't really have to worry about the game's performance either. Everything in this game just felt so fluid and well laid out, and I enjoyed it surprisingly more than I expected.
Pump shutdown sequence at 80%.
The final game on this list took the world by storm last year, but I never got round to it until now. The post-apocalyptic, overgrown, cross-cyberpunk game, Stray. You heard it right. This game somehow manages to combine two of the coolest video game settings into one game, where you play as a cat. Stray has you traversing the underground cyberpunk city and its surrounding areas on a mission to escape to the world above. You'll run from gross little flesh monsters trying to eat you, talk to and experience the lives of the underground robot civilization, meow, sleep and scratch things, along with your best buddy in the whole world, B12. Being a cat adds such a unique feel to this game, allowing you through gaps you wouldn't normally be able to get through in other video games, and giving you a unique sense of traversal and scale. Jumping to a high platform and knocking a tin of paint onto the floor below will never get old. The gameplay itself is all 21:9 and there's no HUD to speak of. Some cutscenes are in 16:9 while others are 21:9, but I can't really tell what distinguishes them. Once or twice a cutscene seemed to switch from 21:9 to 16:9 and back midway through the cutscene, so I'm not really sure what happened there. The game ran pretty perfectly at max settings. I had maybe one or two stutters here and there, but nothing problematic. Stray is a super short, but super relaxing and just downright enjoyable game to play. And that was another 6 amazing games to play in Ultrawide or 21:9. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and comment your favourite Ultrawide games in case I've missed any, because I'm always looking for more for future videos. And peace out.
Rotten sour milk. Your stomach lurches, but your loins tingle. Was that arousal?
Rotten meat. That's what gets you going. Well, to each their own.
In amongst the